However, when you are in this crisis mode, you just don't know how to really have fun and be playful at work when
that is so true.
You just don't know how to handle everything and you're trying to be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
So there wasn't much of this genuine checking in. I would think of two people who did that and who I could have open conversations with. But I want to say it again. I didn't realize at this point of time that I was in burnout.
Welcome to the new chapter of the Her Resources podcast. I'm your host, Linda Misakadis, and I'm so excited to be stepping into this next season with you solo. This podcast has always been about amplifying women's voices, exploring the challenges we face in HR, leadership, and life, and sharing the tools and inspiration we need to thrive. And now, I'm taking that mission even deeper. You'll hear real conversations with bold and authentic women, as well as reflections from me on everything from pay equity and burnout to confidence, leadership, and the messy, beautiful journey of growth. This is more than just a podcast. It's a community, a space for us to learn, lead, and lift each other up. Welcome to this new beginning. This is the Her Resources Podcast. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Her Resources Podcast, where we talk about what it really takes to thrive as a woman in leadership, not just survive it. I'm your host, Linda Misakadis, and every week we have honest conversations about growth, leadership, and creating a life and career that feels as good as they look on paper. Today's episode is one so many of us need to hear. I've just heard so much about this topic, and actually just this last week when I was at our sales kickoff, I was talking to colleagues who were talking about this as well. So it's about burnout, and burnout is becoming an epidemic, especially for women who are climbing the ladder. We're sitting in high stakes roles. We are managing teams, families, expectations, and still trying to prove ourselves in spaces that weren't really built for us. My guest today, Cathleen O'Sullivan, knows this story firsthand. After years in corporate leadership, she hit what she calls the corporate wall, and it changed everything. Today, she's here to share how she turned burnout into boldness and what it looks like to reclaim your power, purpose, and presence without sacrificing your ambition. Welcome to the studio, Cathleen.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for having me. I just had goosebumps listening to you.
Oh, well, I am so excited to have you. And let me tell everybody a little bit more about Cathleen. She is a leadership mentor, a former high-level corporate leader, and host of the Legendary Leaders podcast. And I would suggest all of our listeners out there to check out Kathleen's podcast because it's really quite good. A truth-telling space for corporate rebels who are ready to ditch the performance and lead with courage, clarity, and humanity. With 15 plus years working inside high-stakes global organizations like Discovery, MacArthur/Glenn, and Avid Technology, Cathleen knows the cost of conventional success because she paid it herself. After years of 16-hour days, we know those ones, 4 a.m. starts and relentless pressure to perform, she hit burnout so severe she had to leave. But that moment became her turning point. So now through her coaching and podcast, Kathleen's on a mission to help women redefine leadership on their own terms without burning out or selling out. She's passionate about tackling the hidden crises playing out inside corporate life, like quiet firing. We're hearing a lot about this, silent resignations, and the unseen toll of modern work, and showing how true leadership in 2025 demands more humanity than ever before. So, Cathleen, I want to start at that moment when you realized you couldn't keep going the way you were. Can you take us back to that time? Like, what was happening in your life and career that caused all that?
Oh, goodness me. How much time have we got, Linda?
As much time as we want.
The thing was, I didn't even realize it in the moment because there's something called this high achieving burnout, this high functioning burnout, which means it is the stage where you deliver upon your goals. You seem to work at your best. You might even be categorized, speaking in HR terms, as a high potential and key talent in the organization. But you are literally cracking inside. And how that showed up for me was neglecting myself, in summary. So what I would have seen outside of work is unhealthy habits, such as eating rubbish, basically, not paying attention to my nutrition. It has to be quick, right?
Right.
After work, because the hours or the days were quite long, so I needed a bit of numbing. So I would head out with friends. If I did work travels, we would have dinners or whatnot, and alcohol would be involved, and big meals would be involved.
Right.
And in the UK, you would go to the pub, you meet with friends. Or going home, the laptop would be opened again, and you keep working until late hours, only to go to bed with your brain still buzzing and going, and that interrupts your sleep, obviously, as well. And in the morning, it's like, Groundhog Day. It starts again, feeling exhausted, sluggish, but I didn't change anything. So that was outside of work / kind of hybrid at work. And at work, the way it showed was this constant grind, a hamster wheel, as I like to call it. It will get better. Only when the next holiday comes will I feel better and have time to relax. No switching off. The to-do list gets longer, and I just stay on longer at work to make sure everything is going to be worked through. And always believing it's going to change. Next week's going to be better. This day's not going to come because I've established habits that were tremendously unhealthy. And as we all know, it takes effort, energy, and time to change habits or to implement healthier ones. And I would bring in a third angle, and that is, how did other people see me and perceive me? Now, I'm going to be
good one,
going to generalize it, because obviously you have pockets of different groups of people.
Right.
But I would say the most challenging feedback that I have received or I've heard about was, she's quite intimidating. Let's leave her alone. She seems to be stressed today, running from one meeting to another, bit intense. Are you okay? Or you're a bit in a bad mood. I thought I'd leave you alone, might be better. People hesitate to approach you. And as we know, this is the opposite of a psychologically safe environment.
Right.
And I'm just going to pause here. I think I could tell a lot about it, but this is how I've experienced it and seen it.
Right. I wonder, what you said something interesting too is, and I think that this is a trap that many of us find ourselves in, is that you were high performing at work. So no one was recognizing what was happening. And I'm assuming that probably your leadership also was like, well, Kathleen, she's firing on all cylinders. She's getting things done. She's moving things along. No one was paying attention to what was really going on with you personally.
Yeah. I'm thinking about one particular role when I worked for MacArthur Glen. It's a designer outlet business, and I was looking as a HR leader after the Northern European markets. And I had one team member who I was quite friendly with, so we had a very trusting relationship. And she would be the one who checked in. It's like, are you all right? What's going on?
Yeah.
I was in a matrix reporting structure, so my direct manager would check in as well. And it's like, how are you doing? Haven't seen you in a while, because I was traveling nonstop. And her feedback has also been quite often like, you need a lot of affirmation and acknowledgement. So it wasn't, how are you doing? What's going on? It's more like, why are you working so hard? And you're no fun, and you should be more playful. And when you are in a position you are in, like I've experienced it, this is the last thing you want to hear, because it just stretches you even more. Now I have to step into this persona of fun and playfulness. Don't get me wrong, which I love.
Yes,
and
of course. Yeah.
The essence of the work I do now. However, when you are in this crisis mode, just don't know how to really have fun and be playful
No,
at work when
that is so true.
you just don't know how to handle everything and you're trying to be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
So there wasn't much of this genuine checking in. I would think of two people who did that and who I could have open conversations with. But I want to say it again. I didn't realize at this point of time that I was in burnout.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
I realized that only after I literally cracked open through one incident, and that was one more conversation with my manager at the time. And she asked me a very simple question. So I came prepared for our one-to-one, right? These are my key priorities. This is what's coming up. This is how I deal with it, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, so how are you really doing? What's going on? A question she asks me from time to time. But my reaction was different. And when I said I cracked open, I still remember it as if it was yesterday. I started to cry, like properly sob. And I couldn't stop. I just couldn't stop. It was like Watergate. Everything opened. And she just looked at me and she's like, you're going to go home now. You're going to sleep. And that was the start of awareness building.
I have exciting news. The Her Resources podcast is opening sponsorships. If your brand supports women in HR and leadership, think talent, well-being, learning, pay equity, coaching, productivity, or mission-driven tech, this is your moment. Our listeners are decision makers and change makers who show up for real conversations and practical tools every week. We offer flexible options, pre-roll or mid-roll host reads, series sponsorships, and thought leadership integrations that highlight your story without the fluff. Ready to connect with a highly engaged audience and grow with us? Email contact@herresourcespodcast.com and put sponsorship in the subject line. I can't wait to collaborate. That is incredible. How did burnout kind of start to show up for you? I know you were not taking care of yourself, so you were not doing the things, but what did you start to notice? Because I find oftentimes that when we're not paying attention to our mind, our body will start to let us know. So whether that's being sick or feeling unhealthy, or it could manifest itself into other illnesses, what did you start to see? Like, how were you starting to know that maybe at that time didn't recognize it, but as you reflect back, like what were some of the things you were seeing?
So we could break it down into physical signals, mental signals, emotional signals. Physical ones, feeling tired constantly, like exhausted, is like deep exhaustion, kind of fatigue.
Right.
Lack of energy. That at work turned into unhealthy, almost hyper energy of do. Weight gain. I became rather, I wouldn't say big, but biggish.
Sure.
In this time, because lack of sleep, bad nutrition, right? We know what that leads to, and stress for women and our hormones is literally the worst.
Right.
Emotionally, really bad relationships. So I was seeking for this affirmation, this acknowledgement, being seen and heard in all areas of my life. So really unhealthy relationships. But still I say, wow, I had relationships in this time. Don't know how I fit them in. And at work, there was this constant sense of not feeling and not doing enough. Only if I do more will I achieve more. When I received a promotion with a salary increase, for example, now I have to prove that I'm worthy of this promotion. So you are in this downward spiral of just doing more, proving yourself. The other thing was I became quite irritable. So the smallest thing could trigger me to become incredibly impatient, snappy, been moody, and I didn't let a lot of people get through to me. So I call that in many talks I've given or podcasts, my wall that kept building up and became thicker and thicker. So not many people had an opportunity to really see the real me.
Yeah.
Fast pace, moving along, goal orientation. Let's not have chats about, weekends and so on. Only
Right.
the selected few could get there. So these parts come to mind right away. And I would say the last thing is, and I know you've covered that in a previous podcast with one of your guests, heart. Notice the shallow
Yes.
breathing, the heartbeat that goes really fast, being
Yeah.
sweaty all the time, tummy aches,
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah. That is just what was the hardest part for you about admitting something had to change? So, you're sitting in this office, you have this one-on-one, now you have this breakdown. Like, what was the hardest part for you in saying, wow, something has to change, and having the courage to really do that?
Well, when I sat in this office, I wasn't quite that far yet. It was
Yeah.
like, okay, I need to go and I need to sleep. And I remember sleeping for nearly a day. So my body
Wow.
was literally
Mhm.
craving this rest. The hardest part that came to my realization later was letting go of control.
Mhm.
I have
Yes.
been / I am a control freak. And when your body literally says no,
Mhm.
right? You
Right?
have to.
So
And now
true.
handing this over, letting go, not doing the things the way you did them before was incredibly
Right.
hard. And it's still, that's work in progress. It still is
Yeah.
hard for me. And the other part is I felt tremendously weak in this moment.
Interesting. Okay.
So one of the key topics I talk about, help my own clients with, is how to be your real self. I know the word
Mhm.
authenticity often a little bit overused, and I would say
Yes.
misunderstood.
Yeah.
But I thought I had to keep my guard up. I have to show professionalism. I have to achieve
Right.
my goals. So there were a lot of shoulds and have tos. And not being able to do that, and to now move into a space where I have to disconnect, was like I'm being weak.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was really, really hard.
That is really hard. And I think, especially for high achieving women, we do have to maintain a level of control. And that control then becomes how we're holding everything together, too,
Yeah.
right? Because any little chink in the armor could let it all, so it starts to seep out. And then before you know it, all of a sudden you feel like you're just completely out of control. And it is really hard. How did you what did rebuilding look like for you? So now you've decided, okay, I'm gonna take this back. And how did you start to really kind of reconnect with what your purpose really was?
Hmm. Oh, that's a big question. And that was a process that took quite some time, step by step. So first of all, it took me a rather long time to realize where I was.
Okay.
Right? So realizing that this has been burnout, that I need to change things, I'd say it took months.
Yeah.
Even my GP, my doctor at this point said to me, you need to take time off. You need to recover and, and even seek out psychological support, so mental
Sure.
health support. I was like, no, I
Right.
haven't worked too much and just need to, push through it. And that's it.
Mhm.
What I had done already, so I had scheduled some time off before I had this moment of kind of
Okay.
my little mental breakdown in my boss's office. And I remember Googling safe solo trips for women who want to experience yoga and meditation.
Oh, all right.
In the sun, because it was December and I live in the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
And this retreat came up, and I do believe in the universe. I tell you that, right? This retreat came up in the north of Bali. And I booked it.
Okay.
And it was just such a coincidence that basically this moment happened in autumn. And then in December, I had that holiday booked just after Christmas. Short pre-story to that. By the way, I went home for Christmas. My home is Germany. That's where my family is. And one of the signals, by the way, that also showed that I was exhausted was every time I had a holiday, I became sick. So I arrived at my family's home and my body literally said, oh, let's have a proper flu. That's great. But also, this was probably for my parents the worst Christmas they've ever experienced because we were fighting nonstop. I was super sensitive. Right. I was being easily provoked by anything that they would say. And I left before Christmas Eve. And I booked a flight and I left them, which was the hardest thing in hindsight that I've ever done and probably the hardest thing I did to them. And that was for me a real eye-opener. And then went back to London, got ready for my trip and went to Bali. And that was a nearly 4 weeks trip. And that was for me a life changer. Now, what I don't want to tell your listeners is please all book a fancy holiday somewhere else, and that's going to fix everything. That was the starting point for me, A. B, I don't think that is needed to do it, but coincidentally, it just was there, and it helped me tremendously because I ended up literally in the north of Bali, which for people who know the island is off the tourism. It's kind of off the beaten track, rather quiet and a bit more isolated.
Okay.
And every single day was around yoga, centering yourself, meditation, some massages, Ayurvedic nutrition, so everything my body literally needed.
Right.
And the incredible thing is that when you go to Bali and you're surrounded by people from there, I can't even describe the kindness that I've experienced, the warmth I've experienced from people.
Oh, nice.
And that's exactly what I needed. I had massages where I started to cry out of the blue and I couldn't stop. Literally, emotions were released.
Right. Your body was finally kind of letting go.
My body was letting go, and it was opening up for other people to be there for me. Because that's what this entire retreat was about. Other people helping you to nourish yourself and to learn how to look after yourself, connect with yourself again. And yes, that will sound very warm and fluffy. Love yourself again.
Yes. Yeah.
So I had some tough conversations because you get some guidance and coaching there as well. I spent a lot of tears. In the beginning, in the first week, I probably withdrew a lot and kind of tried to isolate myself.
Yeah.
In week 2, I noticed how I started to open up more.
Okay.
And in week 3, I realized I connected with other people differently.
Yeah.
So we would, you have guests there like, just have gotten through cancer. I met a mom with an autistic child, and she was like, she needed a bit of recovery to look after herself again because that's hard, right?
It is.
And suddenly we had these conversations by the pool that went so deep in a short period of time and that offered mutual support. And people were asking me for my advice and support and kind of wanted to get in touch with me. And I was like, something is shifting. And that was, fasting forward, the first step for me to realize there's something else I can also do professionally.
Right.
But I remember when I arrived, I was this mess. And when I left, I was, I think, 12 kilos lighter. Yeah. And it felt like 100 kilos lighter in terms of emotional baggage and trauma and whatnot. And that was the starting point. So which means I had tools in my luggage that I brought back to the UK. Tools like how to create space for myself, how to cook more nutritiously, how to set boundaries, how to bring gentle movement into my day-to-day practice. But the biggest tool I had was I really felt connected to myself. I really liked myself again.
Yeah.
And
that was amazing. It's funny that it took that for you to realize how disconnected you were from yourself as well.
Are you ready to take your podcast to the next level? Let LJM Productions help you sound your best. We specialize in podcast editing, production, audio restoration, and mixing, ensuring every episode is polished, professional, and ready to wow your audience. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned podcaster, we'll handle the technical details so you can focus on sharing your voice. Partner with LJM Productions today and hear the difference.
Well, you've
Fantastic.
talked about redefining power in your own life. So what does that mean to you today?
So for me, power was always about what role you were in, status, the knowledge you held, how you can influence. Now, this is still important, right?
Sure.
Parts of it are
Yes.
still important.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily the role and status. I'm very, very much at ease with that. They have far less importance in my life. The biggest role I have is as a mom, and I carry a lot of pride with me
Absolutely.
when I talk about being a mom. But everything else, like status, power, in that sense, irrelevant for me nowadays.
Yeah.
What is still relevant is how I influence, the impact I have on
Sure.
others. But the biggest power for me is the power of choice.
I like that.
And that's what I really help my clients with as well, to see that they have choices, even in the biggest world crisis we seem to be living in. But we still have choices.
That is
we've
a
got
really
to
good point.
We've got to put ourselves into a place where we are able to see them. And when you're on this hamster wheel, when you're on the grind, it is hard to be open for that and to think differently and to expand and widen your perspective.
That is such a good. I really like that choices. I was just actually chatting with my son about that the other day. That we find ourselves sometimes getting so caught up in the negativity, and we get drawn down. And if you have a personality that's prone to that as well, it makes it even worse. But it is like remembering we have choices. We can decide what we want to do with what we're going through in that moment, and it doesn't have to be to buy into all of the negativity. We can make a different choice. But I love that you said that. I'm curious, how can women in demanding roles protect their energy and still pursue excellence? Because I think sometimes we think that, well, if I'm going to, take care of myself and do all of these things, then I guess it means that I can't be this powerful woman that's really kind of seeking out that excellence in my life and my job, whatever that is.
Well, first of all, really define for yourself what power means, right?
Great.
So what is it for you? Is it that you want to inspire others for a certain cause, right? To achieve a certain cause, to follow a certain cause? Is it the power of changing things for the better in the organization or in your team? What is it? And the same applies to energy, because we all have masculine and feminine energy in us, which is fabulous. Men have it, women have it.
Yes.
There's a cultural difference as well, but there is still this assumption that the higher we get, the higher we climb the corporate ladder, the more we have to step into what's traditional, the masculine energy. So being very decisive, tough, very quick in our decisions, just decisive, very assertive and clear and direct in our communication. Whereby, if we are direct in our communication, we are often emotional, bitchy. Right?
Yes.
The biggest learning that I've taken away from those different stages I've experienced post my first burnout, there was a second subtle one later in my life, but was that I need to use these energies in accordance to the situations, the demands, the context. So what you saw in me more often, once I've started to work through this exhaustion, was my feminine energy.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because I opened up more. The softness face came out, right? I opened up. I became, in certain ratios, more vulnerable. I spent far more time connecting with people and having proper mentoring, coaching conversations that was all about the other person or the group of people. Yeah. I laughed more. My playfulness came out, even with some of the sometimes tricky senior stakeholders that I supported. I could be like, come on, be a bit more charming and soft and open. And man, did that open doors for me.
Interesting. Okay.
So don't put yourself into this assumption that you have to be this, tough woman in leadership. balance those different energies. See how you can step into your female energy more often and the impact it's going to have. Because, man, do we have a lot of masculine energy in the business world?
Oh, yes, we do. Yes,
right?
We don't need more of it.
And we need it in certain situations. It's great to have it. And I do love to see in a lot of men that I experience in leadership teams, when their feminine energy comes out, the softness comes out, the real listening, the empathy. Yes. It's magic what's happening. So why would we hide it as women?
Very true.
And really pay attention to your way of being and feeling in those moments when you're really connected to yourself. And there is a sense of ease, there is a sense of joy. What I've learned was suddenly we make things happen and it doesn't feel so hard. What's going on? Right?
Did it feel uncomfortable at first when you started to experience that? Was it kind of like, this feels a little different, it feels a little weird? Yeah.
It felt different, and I had this, what's going on? And am I doing enough? That crept up right away. Am I doing enough? Because it doesn't feel so hard. But it didn't feel weird. It felt wonderful.
That's so wonderful to hear.
It felt so lovely. And I remember leaving one of the organizations the organization where I experienced burnout for the first time. And there was a bit of farewell happening that really surprised me. I didn't know it would become such a big thing. Yeah. And my key stakeholder at the time, he said to me, there are people who connect and there's you. And that was for me the biggest compliment I've ever received, because it showed that the way I was showing up, how I connected with others, became visible and helped other people. Most importantly, it had a positive impact on them. And that was for me the key. I think there are a few other things that women can do to really step into that space of positive power and protect their energy. Go slower to go fast. And I know that's a very cliche phrase, but my key slogan in my own business is do less, achieve more.
I love that. I think it's something we don't realize is such an important component. Like it's all about more. And sometimes in doing more, you're really not achieving as much as you think that you are, because there's no way you can be truly effective when you're spreading yourself across so many things. So I really like that.
Spot on. And your brain is completely overwhelmed, right? And doesn't work anymore productively and effectively. You get into the spiral of moodiness and high sensitivity in this moment. And it has an impact on the relationships. And by do less, I'm not saying be lazy. I'm just saying be more intentional about what you do, why you do it. Asking for help, that's not a weakness.
Yes.
Challenge others, which with your feminine energy can work nicely, right? In the way you do things, the processes about it, and take really time to connect, because often in those moments of connection, of coaching, mentoring others, and you don't have to be a qualified coach to do that in a workplace, but you can literally help them find their own ways, resources, solutions, ways forward. So you don't have to do it all for others. Help other people become smarter about their work as well. 5 minutes of reflection time on a regular basis, mini pauses, micro breaks, making sure you get enough rest before, after work. These are just these small habits that can make a huge difference.
It's really kind of interesting. You've talked a little bit too about how women, or how burnout can actually affect. It hits women differently, I think, than it does with men. And it's not just about the workload; it's the expectations. It's kind of like that emotional labor and the invisible work that also comes with being a woman in leadership. Because I think, to your point, we feel like when we still see this. I mean, I think it's getting better, but we still see this today, where women who finally achieve and get to they feel like they're finally climbing that ladder, or they're achieving that success that they want. it's very scary about the thought of losing it. And so that also starts to manifest itself in what could be very negative behavior that they may not even be realizing that is happening around them. So can you kind of talk a little bit about like, where do you think that organizations get it wrong when they're talking about well-being? Because we hear about this work-life balance and we hear about well-being and all of this sort of stuff. But what are organizations really doing to help foster that in, especially for women? I mean, this is a show for women, so not that I don't care about our male counterparts out there, but what are we going to do for our women out there?
Oh, I wish there would be enough that's being done. I mean, it still blows my mind that only last year, 2024, we started to talk openly about menopause, about child loss, right? Miscarriage in businesses. It has been not going on for centuries, right? And when women go through perimenopause, menopause, it's like, oh, you're being a bit moody. You are emotional. Oh, goodness me. I mean, come on.
Right?
There's still so much to be done with regards to actually at least opening up for what the key differences are between female experiences and male experiences.
Right.
From childbirth, periods, hormonal changes, and yes, hormonal changes men experience as well. However, menopause is being experienced differently by different women. I'm in the perimenopause stage, and goodness me, right? I already don't appreciate it. It is a lot. And it impacts the way we think, the brain fog,
it does.
the way we show up, the way we doubt ourselves, the way we feel about our bodies, our emotions. There's so much going on. So it starts with me, for me, with raising awareness, having open conversations about what is going on for women, what are they experiencing, and not just in employee engagement groups, like women groups.
Right.
It is important that men start to become more curious about it as well, which, and I want to say that very openly, in my environment, in Europe in particular, I see that from a lot of men who try to really understand it.
To hear that.
Right? But my husband, for example, after I gave birth, I still remember him looking at me. He's like, takes quite a long time to recover, doesn't it? I'm like, yes.
Yes, it does.
And I had a bit of an identity crisis afterwards as well, and hormones went crazy and so on. And he's like, hey, what's going on? I felt like I had now to give a course on what can happen for women when they go through all of those changes.
We just grew a whole life inside of our bodies. Yes. I mean, I don't, like when you really break that down and think about it, it's incredible. But can you imagine what that does to our bodies? The fact that we just grew another human inside of us? It's really quite crazy and fascinating, but it takes a lot out of us too.
Yes, definitely. So awareness is step one. Step two is around equal opportunities. The amount of women who I meet who are highly capable, who are in management roles, but work part-time because they are in this transition phase where they still offer their support and want to give support to their family and children.
Sure.
And at the same time want to have a fulfilling career as well.
Yeah.
And yet they do an incredible job. They achieve a ton in those, let's say, 3 days a week. Yeah. They achieve their targets and goals. And yet they come to me and say, I'm still not being considered for a promotion.
Mm-hmm.
It's still going to be my male colleague who works 5 days a week. I probably put a 5-day week into my 3 days as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right? So there's still a lot of bias. There's still a lot of stereotyping of the female and male role. Women have to carry it all, and what happens if she gets pregnant again and whatnot.
Right.
It is ridiculous. And then on top of that, you add the whole mental pressure, the mental load. Right? Given that we give birth, and I speak to all the women as well who choose not to have children or who sadly cannot have children, right? You still will carry a mental load because you were made physically to carry children.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so it is
your
inside
body's
of
still
you.
Going to go through these things. Yeah,
yes.
You're absolutely right. Yes.
And I also want to say high or burnout and high achieving women doesn't mean you need to be a mom. and you need to care for other people, it can always happen. And that's the key. But the mental load is a big one. We care about others, for others. The empathy levels are very high. So constantly your brain is switched on. What needs to be done? What needs to be organized? How can I make sure I'm there for others, combined with the guilt feeling? Right? Guilt that I haven't done enough. And I give you a specific example. I always traveled in my roles quite frequently. And I would visit the teams there, and I would predominantly meet with leadership teams there to talk about strategy, next steps, and whatnot. What I always wanted to do was to have conversations with everybody there, but it wasn't possible. It was not possible. So I had to talk to my team about how can we cater for everybody when we are not able to just chat to people nonstop. So there were two learnings in there. A, be okay with setting boundaries, and that you can't get it right for everybody, right? And as a recovering people pleaser, that's a really hard one. But I also remember getting feedback from somebody at some point. She said, "You never had time for me," and she was really, really mad at me about it. And it hit me hard. And at the same time, I had to have a few conversations with somebody just to say, there wasn't a chance I could constantly meet with people just to have chat.
It's just not possible. It's not feasible. Yeah.
But that's the guilt you carry with you all the time, at work, outside of work. I haven't met with my friends for a long period of time. Have I spent enough time with my kids? Whatever it is, there's this constant sense of guilt.
Yes.
And now what I had to acknowledge was to realize this guilt will always be there, but what I can reduces the level of it, the strength of it, the voice, how loud it is, basically.
Right.
Yes. Like a radio, you dial up or down.
Yeah. So true.
And what I often ask myself is, how do I define enough? So have I done enough? How did I show up today? Where did I make an impact on my own life and work and my family? While also saying, I'm being a human being. And so therefore, kindness is important as well. Just say, you know what? I can be cool about this day being, I don't like the word perfect, but being imperfect, because, that's life.
It is. It's so true. I totally agree. You talked a little bit about kind of setting boundaries. What advice would you give for women to learn how to start to establish those boundaries, not only in their personal life, but also with their team? So kind of like the person that you were describing who felt upset that you didn't have enough time for them. How do you establish those boundaries to protect your own mental health a little bit, I guess?
Well, first of all, understand what they are, right? And we come back to the energy here. In this moment with this person, for example, I realized there was this guilt.
Yeah.
There was a bit of annoyance on my side as well. I felt a bit irritated by that as well, because it just felt like, can you put yourself ever so slightly into my position as well? I'm running around like a rabbit in the headlight here all day, no breaks, no food, whatnot. And I'm really trying to do my best. And I didn't say that, but in hindsight, I was like, come on, right? And basically understanding what's draining your energy. That's a really good sense for boundaries. If you work nonstop, like 10, 12-hour days, and when I was traveling so much, that's where the 16 hours always came together.
Absolutely.
Does it give you energy? Does it drain your energy? Yeah. If it drains your energy, might be something you have to review. Are there certain people in your social life and work life who drain your energy? What are the conversations you need to have? What do you need to let go of? Who do you need to let go of? At work, often harder than in personal life. So that's step one, to actually pay attention to that. And then when you are aware of the boundaries you've got to set, start small. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
As with any habit, and this is an implementation of a new or changed behavior that you want to turn into a routine, an automatic routine. Start small, one step after the other. James Clear writes so beautifully in his book, Atomic Habits, about the 1% improvement every day.
Yes.
And I love that approach. That's kind of my ethos, 1% better every day. So, for example, simple example, you are not going to accept meeting invites without an agenda where you absolutely don't know what the value is you're going to add, right? That just fills your diary. Then one of the boundaries you may set is that you're not going to accept them. Or you go back to people to say, help me understand. Now, what is this meeting about? What value do you want me to add or can I add? And live and breathe that for a while until it's being established.
Okay.
And then do the next one. The other thing is about transparent communication. So with this person, for example, who was annoyed at me, what I had said to her at a later stage was, I appreciate that it must be really disappointing for you. And every time you want to talk to me, I run out of time and that isn't great. But I'm glad we could make the time now to have a chat.
I like that.
Right? Acknowledge their feelings.
Yeah, it's just kind of like framing it up. Yeah, you're framing that conversation. You're acknowledging it. You're not blaming. You're not deflecting. It's an acknowledgement and you're just framing the conversation in a positive way. I like that.
Yeah. And again, that's where the pausing comes in, Linda, right? If I would have reacted in that moment instantly, I would have said, well, don't you understand that I have a lot to do as well? Maybe not like that, right?
Busy. Yes, absolutely.
But that's not helpful. And for me, being a bit more introspective and reflective really helps put things in perspective. And it opens me up for other people's perspectives as well. And I thought, well, for her, she is disappointed. Yeah. But I also transparently talked to her and I basically said, look, imagine you were in my position and A, B, and C is going on. Now you work with a team of capable, wonderful, approachable people. Right. What would you do? What would be the choices you would make?
Yes.
Right? And some people may say, well, I still would make time for everybody.
Right. Yes.
I would say, well, that's fantastic. And if you're able to do that, I want to learn from you.
Absolutely, yes.
I am not there, right? So there is a combination of having these open, transparent conversations without defensiveness.
Right.
However, if it doesn't land, if the message doesn't really land, all right, I tried my best. So what's in the range of my control? Yes. What can I influence? What do I need to let go of?
Right. Yep. And not carrying the guilt forward, right? Because in those situations there too, you could internalize that situation. You could be overly empathetic in that situation. And then now you're carrying, especially if that person doesn't take the framing of the conversation well, now suddenly you find yourself feeling bad. And now what have you done wrong? And women, it's a vicious cycle we find ourselves in that.
Yeah, you're spot on.
Absolutely.
And then slowly but surely make sure you communicate boundaries, you experiment with them a little bit as well.
Yeah.
I love Dr. Brené Brown's phrase that says, no is a complete sentence.
Yes, I love that one.
I think we sometimes overthink. I'm not stepping on people's toes and what if I get it wrong? You don't have to say in my Germanic way, no. but you can say, hey, I'm really sorry, but I won't be able to do that. Or what I did with quite a few of my line managers was say, I've got priority A and B here. Now you give me C and D. So which one is the real priority?
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
So become a little bit more creative about how you push back, which also helps them raise awareness, understand a little bit more in terms of how reactive they might be in just passing things on to others as well. And that can build, if well done and well communicated, a ton of trust too.
I agree. Yes. Yeah, because then you're really empowering them, right? You're empowering and enabling, and it's kind of like shifting things and helping them to view things differently. And along that way, that's a great way to coach, right? To what you were talking about earlier is like you can be a coach without having to be a certified coach. It's all in how you're approaching what you're doing. So I really like that a lot. Yeah. What would you say to the woman who's listening who feels like she's one meeting away from just breaking? She's the one who's going to break down and just lose it. So
create distance right away.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
And this woman would probably now say to me, "Well, this is impossible. How would you do that? There's still so much to do in that meeting to be attended. Get out."
Yes.
And I'm not
yes.
saying forever. Build distance. It could be just go home a little bit earlier today.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
let work be work. In a lot of cases, we are not working in hospitals, having emergency surgeries, right, to conduct.
Yes.
I definitely come from the corporate world where there was never a life at risk in the work I have done.
Sure.
So
yes.
therefore, distance, remove yourself.
I like that.
If you can't take the afternoon off or go home a little bit earlier, take a break. Get a nice takeaway cup of tea, walk around the block, fresh air, breathing, build perspective, let the pressure move and settle down and kind of leave your body for a moment. And that is the first step I would always take, because that builds perspective. Suddenly, when you give your brain and your body space and distance, you will notice that you have clearer thinking, even though you were in this hamster wheel for the last few weeks, days, however long it's been. B, you will realize that you become calmer, you think more clearly, and you can plan differently with regards to, for example, do I really need to attend this one meeting now that's coming up? Can I deal with it differently? What is it I need to really focus on tomorrow versus what can wait? Maybe you need to have a conversation about, I need to, step back from a certain project for a certain time. And yes, that can again feel nerve-wracking, because we don't want to risk and jeopardize our position, our reputation. Always depends how you say it, right?
That's true.
So that would be my first step that I would always recommend to do, and everything else will follow.
I like that, because sometimes too, just when you step away, you can also gain perspective yourself as well, right? Because in the moment, it can feel like the whole world is ending. But if you can take that moment to step back, gain perspective, maybe create a little center for yourself. I like that creating space is really good, because when we stay in that negative situation, it only makes it worse, for sure. Hey everyone, we're the Her Resources podcast, where women share real stories, real lessons, and the resources that help them succeed. We're always looking for inspiring women, business leaders, creatives, educators, and change makers who want to share their journey and empower others. If that sounds like you, we'd love to hear your story. Reach out to us at contact@herresourcespodcast.com and let's start the conversation. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about boldness. When you say from burnout to boldness, what does that transformation really mean?
Oh, it means so much. So first of all, shifting from reactive mode, being in service of others constantly, which isn't a bad thing. My business is in service of others.
Right.
However, it doesn't mean you let go of who you are and you are just operating on a reactive basis.
Right.
You move more towards intentional being and living. And we come back to the choices. You have choices.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So in my high-achieving corporate roles, I would be rather reactive with regards to, this is what we need to do, this is what needs to get done, and then we can redefine success, and then we tick the box and whatnot.
Right.
Nowadays, I have redefined success for me. So success for me, and that is bold in my perspective, isn't about being reactive, saying yes to every client I work with. It's about making choices who I work with, what I work on with these people, how I communicate my boundaries as well, how often I say no or what I say no to.
Right.
That's bold. I would have never done that in my early career. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It is also about moving from scarcity mindset to abundance mindset. And in spirituality, that's something that's being talked about a lot. But scarcity is, there's not enough, and I need to do more, and I need to make sure we have more resources, and then we offer more. There's enough. People are highly resourceful. We don't have to treat others like children.
Yes, yeah.
I'm not getting into this fear culture all the time where I'm like, oh, is there enough work for me? There is. Let's support one another. All right. Let's make sure we help each other. There are tons of mentors, coaches, facilitators like me out there. Everybody brings something different. And I truly believe there's enough for everybody out there. So choices from reactive mode to more intentional way of being, abundance mindset, saying no is bold for me. I make business choices, not ad hoc, they are planned, but for me, it's bold to say, this is not working. Can I tweak it?
Right.
Do I give it a go? Okay. May I want to let go of something? Yes, because it's not serving my energy.
I like that.
So coming back to the energy as well. So if something feels hard, I procrastinate on it constantly. It feels draining as well. I'm like, is it really offering me the sense of passion, joy in my work? And yes, not every day is like that. But most of the times, if not, I let go. With still this feeling of, will other people judge me?
Right. Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
But nowadays, I can let go of this feeling far more quickly as well.
That is great.
That's important as well, to be bold enough to let go, to turn things around, to change, to redefine how you show up and who you are. I've done that a few times by now. And I see the playfulness and the joy in it, which is tremendous as well.
Oh, it's so well. You carry yourself that way. You can see. I didn't know you before. You are today, but I can see like you wear it, and that's incredible. Like I can see the joy in you, and that makes a big difference. I think in how people are going to receive that. How can women redefine ambition in a way that feels a little more like aligned instead of so exhausting? Because I think sometimes too, we automatically assume if we're being ambitious, it also means that that's got to come with this exhaustive approach to what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, ambition often means, right, as I mentioned earlier on, just do more.
Yes.
Achieve more.
Yes.
Now again, what does achieve more mean, right? Is it to have a greater impact, or is it just ticking boxes? It doesn't have to be like this. It can mean like doing something different or differently. It can mean like you feel more aligned to yourself and who you really are.
Yeah.
It can mean like you work in a way that feels sustainable. It's such a boring word, but that fulfills different parts of your life, right? So ambition is highly personal and highly individual. And what I would highly recommend is to think about who you are as a person. So quite often we do this playful activity where we literally just have a brain dump of who are you? What makes you you? Right? I've been working with a wonderful female leader for 1 year now, and the journey has been tremendous. And her key goal was at the start, I want to bring the light back in me. I used to be this person who enters a room and, the light was shining and other people would feel drawn to me immediately. And we had great chats and ease. And we did exactly this exercise. So who is you? And the first thing she came up with was everything that has changed about her and who she's now, drained and exhausted and constantly just doing things for others and actually completely disconnected from herself. So we explored, who have you been when you were this shining light for other people? How would you describe yourself? So if you were to see this woman entering a room now, how would you describe her? What was there?
I like that. Yeah.
We worked from there. The other thing is about values, really understanding what your values are. So one of my key values, for example, is freedom. It doesn't mean freedom to do anything I want to do, but I feel freedom. So for example, in moments when I set boundaries and communicate them, it feels liberating.
Yes.
I have a sense of freedom because I made a choice and it feeds my energy positively. So what are your values? And don't make a shopping list, right? It can be your top 1 or 2 values. My second one is connection. I love togetherness.
I like it.
How can I feed that value in my day-to-day work? And that's where people get the best from me, right?
Yes.
So what is it for you? And that is a key to, again, I refer back to Dr. Brené Brown. She has a beautiful values exercise from her Dad to Lead work that you can find online. It's all for free. It's on her website as well. And she offers this shopping list of values and guides you through an exercise to get to the final two. So what are those for you? And then think about, how do you fulfill those values every single day at work and outside of work? Because if you don't and you compromise them constantly, you will certainly feel that. And not in the most positive sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then think about what gives you this spark, this joy. Now, we all do things on a day-to-day basis. Well, say we all do. People I know and I do things that I sometimes like, and some of them I don't like. Taxes and accounts are definitely in the box of I really don't like them.
Exactly, yes.
So what really lights you up? What gives you the sense of joy and passion in your day-to-day? And how much of that can you find in your work? If it's not there, can you bring it in? Have you neglected it and now it's time to bring it in? If you can't bring it in, is it the right place for you? Is it the right work for you? Right? And I come again back to choices. Regardless the environment we are in, and I hear a lot from people, well, the employment market is really bad. We always have choices. There's always something that we can do.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
Small steps taken every single day, one at a time. And that's where the power lies.
Well, and what I'm hearing you say too is, I think sometimes, and it's probably the world we live in today, where we want immediate satisfaction. We want immediate, we want everything to be better right away. What I'm hearing you say is that it's a practice. It's not going to happen overnight, and you have to be willing to put forth the effort. So, do you have that moment of burnout? You realize that something's got to change in your life. It's to the point you made at the beginning, is going and taking a trip, whatever that might look like, or taking it. That is just the beginning of the journey, and it is a journey, and you have to be willing to put the work in to do something different, right?
Absolutely, 100%. And don't expect it to be a linear path. You will go sometimes to the left, sometimes it feels like you go backwards. Like, I should have known this, I should have learned this, and take the experience as it comes and see, okay, and how am I going to move forward now? Because I said to you, I didn't only have one, I had a slightly milder second burnout when I was pregnant, actually. And the thing is, I can grab these moments now so much more quickly because I recognize the signals, the symptoms, and I give myself space to notice more through my breathing, through my way of being. Now, for the 10th time, I think I mentioned energy. And the more you become aware, the more you can tackle those situations and your way of being more quickly as well. And that is the key. We improve constantly.
No, that is a really good point. So as we're kind of closing out with our lightning round, I'm going to call it bold moves, what is a bold move you're proud of?
There were so many. I mean, one of the boldest moves was just to leave my home country, literally within 4 weeks. Using a tough professional situation to say, you know what, I'm now going to follow my energy and I'm going to go to the UK and move. And within 4 weeks, gave up my flat, the job, found another role, and relocated.
Wow. That is a bold move for sure. What is a boundary you no longer break? Like, what is that thing where maybe in the past you might give a little wiggle room, but now you're like, nope, I will not break that boundary?
I don't say yes purely out of guilt.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I like that because we all find ourselves guilty of that one for sure. What's a mantra or daily practice that keeps you grounded today?
Well, go slow to go faster. I know, cheesy and very often used, but I live by it.
I love it. It is so good. Kathleen, thank you so much for being on our show and just really sharing your story with such honesty. You said earlier on, I agree with you that the word authenticity has been overused and misunderstood, but the authenticity that comes off of you, the realness, I can see the connection that you will make with our listeners and with all of the people that you're out there helping. And so I know that so many people are going to hear themselves in your journey because of the way that you presented it. But I also love that you've shown that burnout doesn't have to be the end of the story. It can actually be the beginning of a brand new one and a much bolder one as well. So if you're listening and you've been feeling that exhaustion or that quiet sense of, is this really it? This is it. This is all, everything. This was all it was worth. Then take this as, your permission to pause, to maybe realign and to redefine success in your own terms. So Kathleen, how can people connect with you if they want to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I am on LinkedIn, which is my go-to platform. Cathleen O'Sullivan is my name. That's where you can find me. And my website is CathleenO'Sullivan.com. I'm on Instagram with legendary leaders. But yeah, the go-to platform is, I guess, my website, and you'll find all the social links there.
Wonderful. And we will list all of this in the show notes for everybody out there. So you will easily be able to get a hold of Kathleen and connect with her. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with the other ambitious women who need to hear it as well. And definitely, I want you to make sure you check out Kathleen's podcast that is out there as well. Because like I said, it's quite amazing. And you can find it on all major streaming services as well. And you can also find the link on her website. So definitely check it out. So thank you again, Kathleen. And I really appreciated you being on our show today.
Thank you so much again for having me. It's been fun. Loved your questions,
Linda. About this stuff. Have a great day, everyone. You've been listening to the Her Resources podcast, where women's voices, leadership, and growth take center stage. As your host, I'm here to remind you that the journey isn't always easy, but it is always worth it. Every step you take to build confidence, create impact, or use your voice is part of a much bigger story. It's the one that inspires others to do the same. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love it if you subscribed, left a review, or shared it with another woman who's ready to step into her power. And as always, thank you for being a part of this community. Together, we're not just changing conversations, we're changing the future.